right. Oh, I had a little bit out. I should just take that. You're on candid camera.
Did you ever watch Candid Camera?
Yes, sir, I did.
When I left over anything, some little car. This was at the gas station, so you start station. Pulled a big truck in there and picked the car up, out of the truck. Pulled the car out.
That's awesome.
I really loved that. Right. Right.
And how are you?
We need to come in. So Shanae Lars, her husband's in.
How's it going? I'm Nick Bennett. Nice to meet you. Nick Bennett. Nice to meet you.
Not with us.
But then I, I'm for it.
Red Bull. Oh.
Yeah.
Small problem.
Hey, Good morning, you too. I'll park that. Like you. What a difference. Saturday. He's got the shirt, so he's official. I got one.
How are you doing?
Here we go. Come on in. There's so many seats available.
I'm gonna have to see them.
Oh, you gotta get. Hey, oh, good and you.
So what is,
Yeah.
I really.
How are you? Wow.
Okay, we're live.
So introduce you to Shanae Florence. Hi, Shanae. This is Eddie Barton. Shanae's our government analyst. This is her husband, Ethan.
Yes, I talked to Bob. I said that she. You know, that's what the difference.
Yeah, we have that.
Wow.
Yeah, so. Now we're a little off.
Yeah.
Hey.
Sorry, Lee, that's my.
Hey, thank you so much. Hi, John, today. Tommy is our.
Oh, yeah.
We spent a lot of time together, he and I. This one for the other two? Yeah. Thank you. Oh, wow.
It looks so pretty now.
I just had this.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think it takes you, I'll be there on Wednesday.
Wonderful, thank you.
How
Oh, I'm glad you did, that's great.
I'll be there Wednesday.
Wonderful, that's all, so are you not working?
No, I'm working, I took off, taking,
You
I'm
took a day
taking
off.
vacation.
Oh.
So,
Sorry. I was gonna say, you don't have to do that on your vacation.
well,
But
I just,
thank
I
you.
wanted to.
She said-
I feel like I need this.
If you
I'll be there.
Good to see you guys.
All right, buddy.
Sure. I was trying to make these. You go calculate yourself. Yes. Just got microphone on.
Is this one off?
Yes.
Good.
So we're ready.
She teaches myself in comments and.
I'm not the first guy like that. Oh, you do that.
The sale actually is okay, but she's going through some cases. She's had I don't know all the details. Go always talk to us.
All right, it is 6:30. We will go ahead and get started. Can everybody in the back hear us? Okay? All right, perfect. This is the third City of LaPorte Town Hall, talking about the consolidation of LaPorte and Shore Acres, and then Shore Acres, y'all held one as well. So this will be the fourth meeting. If anybody has any questions at all, that's what this is for. There is no agenda for tonight. We're not going to do any speeches. But I will tell you, the City of LaPorte, which is Orby Alexander, he's our city manager. Lee Woodward, she is our city secretary. They cannot advocate one way or the other, but they will give you the answers, and it's just going to be black and white. I'm elected. Robert Guerra in the back for District 4, he's elected. We can give you our opinion, and we'll tell you our opinion whenever you ask. and sometimes when you don't ask. So, do you want to say anything before we get going? Okay. You say anything? You're good? Yes, yeah, that's part of it. So, Lee is going to tell you exactly how we got here, what, precipitated this, and then where we're going to go. All right?
So I think a number of you have been here for at least one of the other meetings, so if you've already heard this, you can correct me if I mess it up. And Nathan, thank you for bringing dinner for all of us.
I'll get it.
So basically, the process for consolidation in the state of Texas is something that happens pretty infrequently. Those of you who have been in the area for a while recall that it happened in Lomax in 1980. And then there was also a consolidation of the Bay, I can't remember what it's called, but it was a mud district, Bay Mud, that's south of LaPorte that was also conducted more than a few years ago. And so when we looked around the state and started trying to find out what this process is and how we go through it, there were very few people with very few answers. And so we've been navigating that for the last few months. There were residents of Shore Acres and residents of LaPorte who contacted the city manager's office last year to talk about what consolidation would involve. And basically, it is a citizen-driven process. There is nothing in state law that allows any governmental entity to start a consolidation. It is completely different from what we often hear about, which is annexation. And so those citizens shared petitions both in the city of LaPorte and in the city of Shore Acres. And those petitions earned enough signatures that were validated in order to call an election. And so for the city of Shore Acres being the smaller city, they had to have their election on the next, what we call uniform election date, meaning the next regular election date for municipalities. And that's this May. The city of LaPorte City Council had a choice then to either hold its election at the same time or to wait and see what the outcome was and hold it on the next uniform election date, which would be in November. And the city council chose to have it concurrently, have it at the same time. And so what this means is that in May, on May 2nd, voters in both cities will go to the polls like they always do in their normal places, and they will vote on consolidation. And so we expect by the end of the evening to really have a good idea as to whether or not this is going to happen. If it is approved by the voters in both communities, then in a process in the next about 13 days after that, each city council will meet and do a process which is called canvassing. And that just makes those election results official. Once the elections are canvassed in both cities, that's it. Consolidation occurs. Shore Acres is part of LaPorte. And so that's interesting, right? That's very sudden. There'll be a lot of things that Corby will be working on to be ready for that to happen. But it is a very short window. And so we just kind of go over this to remind everybody that this was not something that was brought from LaPorte to Shore Acres or vice versa. It was brought by citizens to their governmental entities. Neither city council started it, and even if both city councils had completely opposed it and hated it, they would have no power to prevent it. It is a citizen process. So that's really what we want to convey, is that that's kind of how we got here. The elections will occur. If they're approved, consolidation will occur, and then we'll go down the road. If for some reason either city's voters do not approve consolidation, it cannot appear on a ballot again for 2 years. That's also part of the state law. So there's no immediate process, and if it fails in either city, nothing happens immediately to Shore Acres, right? Shore Acres continues as a city, LaPorte continues as a city. So if you do hear things like that in the community, that it's going to go to the county or it's going to, whatever happens, right? None of that is immediate as a result of these elections, right? That'll be a process for people in Shore Acres to work on, or people in LaPorte, whatever happens. So I hope that kind of clears that up. Okay.
So the way this works is we have a microphone over here. Anybody can come up, ask a question. We do ask that you don't do speeches, just simply ask your question, it'll be fine. Also in the back on the table, we have a little booklet, and it's every question that's been asked at the 3 previous meetings with answers. So if you've got any questions or and they're also on the website as well. So if anybody wants to come up and ask a question, there's the microphone.
You might think, I got my 2 cents early. I just.
Can you step a little closer to my?
Okay,
Thank
that better?
Yes, sir.
I had some questions about the how the finances are actually going to work when it goes into, if this passes. Because, when I was looking at the tax revenue for shore acres and taking out 15% from it, because, the Porte taxes are 15% less. And I come up with a number of, a little over about 1.2 million, a little more than that. And you take out the $250,000 loan that you have to pay back every year. And you're already down to $980,000 to take care of all of the conversion in the port or in shore acres. I know that they've got the $183,000 that they get for water. But that's gonna all be eaten up by replacing all the water meters, plus it'll probably be a negative by the time you're finished. And then my other question was, they borrowed $4 million, but they said they needed 15 million. And so where's the other 11 million? I mean, what else is gonna have to be repaired? I mean, has anybody explained that as to what, where all this is going with the money?
I don't want to cut you off, but I want to kind of keep mental notes. So there's a lot of things. So let me go through this. So in our packets that are available, it's on the website, and there's some in the back of the room. There's kind of the centerfold. There's a number of $1.872 million. That is the number that we believe is the total revenue that will be derived from shore acres as they come into LaPorte. So that's at LaPorte's tax rate. So that's going to include.
That's how it is.
Yeah, so I apologize for anything that's misleading. This is the number that is here is intended to represent the total revenue that will come in. And so it includes their property tax at the lower tax rate.
Okay.
It includes water sales. It includes revenue derived from garbage sales, and it includes, interestingly enough, it includes some sales tax receipts that are recorded in the city of Shore Acres. So when we add up the total revenue streams that we've been able to identify, my staff in conjunction with Shore Acres staff have been able to identify, we believe that number is 1.8 million. Yeah, we'll on the website. I don't know if we'll reprint these or what we'll do, but we'll get some language on here that clarifies it. Based on the numbers, data that we have, we believe this 1.8 to be the number that of revenue that is. Yeah.
The sales tax there, right? Look at the city internet.
Okay. So, all right. So then the next question, and I may have missed something, but there was some concern about the infrastructure and the fact that I think it was mentioned that Shore Acres had identified a $15 million need for infrastructure and address that with, doing $4 million worth of work, leaving additional work to be done. I think it's clear to me that there is some infrastructure needs that will take place. That is, I want to clarify this because I heard this from someone earlier that they thought that there was another $11 million loan out there. That's not the case. That's not the case. There is a volume of work out there that ultimately will have to be done for the integrity of the services to the community. And to that, I will say that those needs will prioritize along with the rest of the city. So it's not uncommon for us to have needs in a part of the community that take a precedence over needs in another. And so our responsibility is to make sure we're addressing the most immediate needs with the resources we have available. And so if Shore Acres becomes part of the port, that process will continue. So we would identify needs and we would address them like we would address anywhere else in the community.
and where needs have been addressed in other areas or not.
Well, in a perfect world, we address everything all the time. But I think we're all aware we have our available resources is not infinite. And so yeah, so there is some triage that just is necessary. It's part of the way we, cities across the country do businesses. There's triage. There's a reason we don't repave every street every year. We do those that are most in need, and then we work our way up from there. So yeah, so that's kind of the standard practice we have.
How long do you think it will take for the board to break even on the cost of everything you're incorporating if you take them in? You just, I know it's hard to say, but I mean, that's something that needs to be thought about. Is it gonna take 10 years before we break even, or is it gonna take 20 years or what,
So I guess that's a difficult question. I would hesitate to really provide a solid answer to, primarily because, like any other community, there are ongoing needs, right? I mean, it doesn't just stop. We don't meet everything, all the needs are out there, and then it doesn't stop. The infrastructure continues to age, streets continue to age. We have a constant replacement of water meters. I mean, all those things of running a city, they're just pretty constant. And so I don't have a guess that I would be comfortable telling you as honest. So did I answer as many of your questions as I could? Okay.
Okay, well, I want to make something clear because the gentleman brought this up, and I was the one who said that last time, and I misspoke. The way this information was given to me, I certainly wasn't prepared to do it that meeting last time, but what I should have said is there was oh, okay. I'm Ed Navarro, I'm the city secretary at Shore Acres. Yeah. Now you. Troy was unable to make it tonight. But anyhow, so the group had held, and this is way before my time, so this is information that I've gotten over the years. The group had helped the city get monies, and they were seeking up to $15 million, and they only got 5. That doesn't mean that there was $15 million that was assessed that needed to be paid for at that time. So I think I stated that wrong in that time. 5 million was not enough, is what I understand. But the number of 15 million doesn't mean that there was 15 million of infrastructure that must be repaired, or that was the amount that the city had anticipated. It was the group requested money, and I think you guys know when you go ask for money from the state and so on, you don't ask for 5 and then expect to get just exactly 5 million. You'll probably get 3 or something. So that's kind of what happened in that case. But again, that's my fault. A little bit of my ignorance to that information from the past. So just want to make it clear, John.
I am David Grady. I am a citizen of Shore Acres. Let me have a number of questions, one of which is addressed partially in the pamphlet. I think I see the man that can answer the question. One of the biggest things that I have with constituency, and I'm running for alderman in Shore Acres, is the amount of patrol officers that you have patrol area. And we touched on this in the first meeting that I attended. And I got an answer that there could be as few as 4. And then in listening to the YouTube last time, that it could be maybe as few as 5. That is an area you cover, but you have about a 19 square mile. He's gonna, okay, good. How about a 19 square mile city? And so that could put you as few as one officer per basically 4.5 miles. My real question is what is that frequency when you're down that low?
This question came up, and so she's uniquely qualified to speak to that. And I think the real answer is it's not very often, but she can speak to staffing minimums that we have. And one thing I think is important to highlight as well is our real metrics, which is our response times as well as our crime rates.
Yes, Mr. Alexander really hit the nail on the head when he speaks to that. The way there's no universal staffing figure for patrols anywhere in any agency across the state or across the nation, so to speak. The way we measure our staffing needs is, are we able to adequately cover the city in response time and meet the needs of the community? We have minimum staffing numbers, and when I say minimum staffing numbers, those are numbers we will not fall below on any given day. Now, that doesn't mean that that happens often. It just means that's a metric for us, that we're not going to fall below this minimum staffing levels. Most of the time, we're well above those staffing levels. But that's, again, a self-imposed for the agency. We say that we're not going to fall below this number for any shift on any given day. And again, we measure those staffing numbers by response time. That's the way we feel is the most adequate metric that we can use to meet the needs of the community, if we can respond to a geographic area efficiently. And we hold those response times anywhere from 5 to 6 minutes per call. And that's obviously across, like you said, 19 square miles. If we incorporate, or if consolidation does take place, Shore Acre still falls, as it sits now, kind of within the city of LaPorte. We have an area on the other side of Shore Acre, so we are constantly moving in and out of Shore Acres as it speaks now. We don't think that's going to present too much of a problem with us for staffing, because it doesn't really increase our geographic area too much, if that helps.
And Chief, could I chime in? And particularly when we talked about the times where there are maybe as few as 4 officers on patrol, that's not all of the law enforcement resources that we have access to.
Correct.
So do you want to speak to particularly during the day and
Sure. When we say we have 39 officers, and when I say officers, I'm talking about patrol officers and supervisors that are dedicated just to patrol functions. Amongst those, and in addition to those, we have 8 DOT officers, 2 traffic officers, and a DOT/traffic sergeant. So that's another 11 officers that we have at our disposal at any given time. And so when we say 4 or 5, if you hear that number thrown out there, that's just a non-supervisory patrol officer that's on the street. You're always going to have supervisors that are working too. And so they are working supervisors, meaning that they will answer calls for service. They're police officers just like the rest of us. And so we can answer the call for service, be another number, if you will. So in reality, it's when we say 4, very rarely does it happen. And that's just patrol officers. So it's more than likely going to be 6, 7, or 8 with access to a number of other officers that we can pull from if needed. Does that help?
It does to a degree. Are the supervisors on the street?
They are, absolutely.
So they're fully available for access.
For every patrol shift, we have 2 sergeants and a lieutenant. And now they're not all there at the same time every single day, because they have days off, just like anybody else. But for, let's just say, a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, they're all 3 there. And then their days off corresponds. You may only have two, you may only have one, it just depends. But yes, they are on the streets. They are working, backing up officers, going to calls, see what they need, those types of things.
Do you feel comfortable that with those times that you have those for?
Absolutely. If I didn't feel comfortable, I would have conversations with Mr. Alexander saying maybe we need to increase staffing, but we're not at that stage.
And again, just to highlight the key measures as to, when we look at a community, as a community, are we doing what it takes to keep our community safe? We look at the numbers and, in my mind, the most critical numbers as it relates to law enforcement is how quickly are we getting the folks when they need help? And so when we look at our response rate, there's, really, in my opinion, Chief, weigh in, and it's most important to look at those priority one calls. Those are crimes in progress. Someone's actually in distress at that moment. And our response rate to that is different than our response rate to all our calls, which is, we're still an agency that will respond if you've gotten, I just got home and I realized my bike was stolen. When's the last time you saw it? Last week? Well, clearly nobody's in danger, but we're still gonna come out and take a call, take a report in that case. But those are all things that go into our overall response time. But our critical, in my mind, assessment is how quickly do we get to people when they need assistance? And then our overall crime rate. I mean, how safe is the community? And we have for years and continue to enjoy a very low crime rate.
Yeah, just for an example, 27,000 calls for service last year. Of those, an average response time of around 6 minutes per call. So that takes into account what we call non-priority calls and the priority calls. We're averaging that. And so for 27,000 calls over the course of the year, we feel very comfortable with those response times.
The record. I have a question that might not, I couldn't find the booklet. Okay. I live on Miramar in Shore Acres, George Purdue. And we have, the former mayor created a parking lot that's very large, way too large for the area of water that it covers. Is there any way that, because it will be a police problem, I've said for a long time, because there incidents happen there that might not happen if that wasn't there. It's like having a southern beach with no control. And I'm just wondering if there might be something, even if neighbors were to get together to make the parking lot just a little bit smaller, would there be how would we petition that in case we were consolidated to make the parking lot a little smaller, where we would draw less crowds? It's like we put a magnet out there and it forms, and we get these boombox cars that sit out there and boom quite often at night, and it would take lots of police. I will say recently we had an incident at our house, and it was after hours of Shore Acres, and I loved the response time. It was great. Y'all did a great job. Thank you very much. But I was just wondering if there's any thought of that. Plus, the other thing is there's some assets that Shore Acres has. Be a great substation. Wouldn't it be a good idea to maybe have somebody maybe man that whole end of town, just like maybe one time we used to have LaPorte had a police substation in a apartment unit there because they were having some incidents there. We've got the facilities. I just hate to see those facilities go to waste and have graffiti and everything else on them after a while. What is there any thoughts that LaPorte has given that might be those assets be used in some kind of way? Because we've got a complete operating police station that is a great disaster station. Is there any thoughts been done on that?
Sure. Okay.
Every day we get ideas told us about what they want to do with those buildings. We have not made any decisions at all.
I heard the Chantilly room number 2.
That would,
That kind of scared me a little bit.
would be good.
But if I can
Tax
find-
revenue. We appreciate the tax revenue from that. So, no, we absolutely don't know what we're gonna do with it yet.
It'll be a roundtable discussion. Will we be able to talk about it because it kind of affects us?
The way, LaPorte works is any citizen can come talk to council at any time they want, at any meeting. Actually, you don't have to be a citizen. You can come talk to us at any time. So you could absolutely, address it that way. You could reach out, and I'm assuming that the consolidation goes through. You could reach out to your councilman, you could reach out to me. We have 3 at large and then 1 District 5 councilman, that'd be your councilman. The other thing too is if you're talking about the park, same thing. Talk to your councilman, come talk to the whole council. We're all available for that.
Yeah, I'm not against the parking. I just think that it was made too big and it makes it too big a magnet. I mean, we had one person come up in an Uber and heard that there was a beach there and they wanted to know where the girls were.
Spring break. and-
Maybe there's such a big parking lot and it goes down there and it seems a little shell beach that had, yeah.
So I will tell you what I have told other folks concerning the parks is get with your current city council. Whatever they have in place, we're going to honor. We're going to immediately change things. So if they decide that it's too large and want to mark it off, we're not going to make it larger. But if nothing's done before you come into LaPorte, then absolutely come talk to us at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah, we, as any asset, we'll have to decide what our highest best use is. So, we currently, don't have any real plans. Obviously, any, infrastructure related assets, we're gonna have to keep and maintain, water, sewer, those sort of things. But, facilities, we'll have to decide what the highest and best use for those will be.
Yeah, I'm gonna revisit the patrol thing, because what he's getting to is a situation where our own police, they literally patrol that park when we're fully staffed 6 times a day. That is on their checklist 6 times a day, and that is with 1 patrol officer we're about 9/10 of a square mile. And so at minimums, at maximums, I think you're at 7 maybe, generally is what your minimums are, what you're trying to achieve for patrol area in Ford. Wasn't that my understanding? The minimum is, there can be as few as, I'm sorry, I had to take that from you, but, we have that where it's patrolled 6, typically it would be patrolled 6 times in a 24-hour shift. I mean, what does that look like with LaPorte?
I will be lying to you if I tell you it won't look different than what you currently enjoy. I won't say that you'll get a reduced level of service, but it just may not look the same as what you're seeing now. I don't think that we'll ever have the resources to be in one particular area for an extended amount of time. If we have a call for service that's going to pull us away from that area, it maybe make it for a while. We're answering calls all over the city. It will look different, but I don't want you to ever feel like you'll receive a reduced level of service from the city of LaPorte Police Department. It'll just look different.
I live on Miramar, not far, I'm on the opposite side of the street for him, and it worries the hell out of me. Because we just have that presence, and the seashore, that shoreline is a magnet. And it is a magnet, when you have a patrol division or a patrol officer, it scares away people that would have warrants or, a bad background. And that's what scares, I think, a lot of people, and particularly people that have talked to me. I visited the budget workshop that these guys did, and there's a subsidy of almost $2 million for trash. And I wonder, you know, and that's gonna come back because it's gonna be revisited, it's been shoved off, but it would make sense to me as a citizen to maybe look at that as something to add to public safety, and not just as a Shore Acres resident, but definitely as a Shore Acres resident, because I know what we've gotten, and I hear that there's a level of service not gonna come. Wouldn't you be happier having those people without their $7 increase on trash and maybe have $2 million for additional officers?
So, uh, yeah, I'm trying to, I'm sorry.
It's kind of a tough question. I mean, it's.
No, it is. I mean, and it really is I think the latter question is a value-laden pause question. You know, what would you rather? And this is just as straightforward as I know how to be, so please forgive me. If we thought we were not meeting the service levels as it relates to protecting our community, we would be advocating for something different in our community. And so, we feel like the resources that are devoted to service protection are adequate. But I think the point Chief Bullock is making is he's not committing to, and I'm not committing to, 6 visits at the park for law enforcement a day. So I think the short answer is it will necessarily look different. And in large part, I'd encourage you to consider that, you know, LaPorte's a bigger community. And we're not going to have a law enforcement presence all of our parks 6 times a day. And so,
Yeah, I mean, it's a dichotomy. I mean, we look at it one way and you guys look at it.
One thing too to consider is we have a park staff that is in our parks every single day of 30 individuals. So you won't have the dedicated 6 stops by a police officer to walk down to the beach, but you'll have a city employee there 2 or 3 times a day in addition to the police driving by. And I think that's something that Shore Acres really needs to consider is we have a very large staff that is in the city doing a lot of things that currently Shore Acres is not experiencing. So we have individuals that got on city shirts, that drive on city vehicles. It is very good to see that presence there in addition to the police, and that's a deterrent as well. Something to think about.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I think you partially answered my question just now, but I was gonna address the rest of it to him is, in the city of, LaPorte, with the staffing that you have, I'm sure there are some streets that you probably don't even need to go down. There's some places that are bigger issues that you make them the priority. Wouldn't that be the case, like Little Beach, that they made too big a parking lot in front of somebody's house?
Well, I would argue that all of the city is a priority, and we don't want to
I
say.
think the parks might be an issue though, because if they, could that be considered a park?
Absolutely, and
Okay.
that's what I say, every portion of the city, whether it be Shore Acres, Lomax, they're communities, right? Lomax is still a community for us, Shore Acres would be a community for us, so I think it would continue to call it Shore Acres, even if this.
Subdivision, it's Shore Acre subdivision.
Correct, and so we would make that as much of a priority as we would make for the rest of the city.
I would think this little area might be more of a priority over maybe some street off in, one little subdivision that maybe you don't even have to go down every day.
Yeah.
And, there's also that, I am a member of the Houston Yacht Club too. Probably one of the second or third oldest members. My parents were members before I was born, actually. So the Shore Acres Police Department does take a priority of going down, looking, and I had some boats. I don't have a boat right now, thank goodness, but when it did, we never had any issues really because of the Shore Acres Police Department. Houston Yacht Club when I was a kid had to have watchmen and everything else, but they don't have that anymore, you know. They count on the police department. So
Yeah, absolutely, and I would just go back to, we would make it a priority, just like we would make the rest of the city, as we currently enjoy it, a priority, and you will see officers throughout.
I would think that'd be a park, somewhat of a park, the way it's established. This question is to the mayor and to the other people. is I was quite shocked and, I enjoy my little parking lot. Don't get me wrong. We have a big party. We got a great big parking lot. It's great. Yeah. But the rest of the time it's a little bit of an aggravation because it was made out of, McAdoo, and of course that dust blows, the north wind blows all through our house. My wife gets a little upset because the floors get a little gritty. But so it has some benefits and some horrible liabilities. The boombox cars that sit there and boom all night long, and for hours and hours. So we love it because there's a lot of activity. So it's not all bad. The question I have goes to the governing staff, more than the police, is that I was quite shocked that when we moved into the house and we got everything all decorated, they all of a sudden started building this parking lot after we built the house. Does the port, if they decided to put a parking lot in front of somebody's house, wouldn't it be posted with a little sign or something ahead of time and say, come to a meeting, we're going to put a parking lot here? Because I think it could have been designed a lot better than it was. And maybe we could have made it half the size and put asphalt down rather than putting caliche down that blows all in our house and gets my wife very mad. But it just seems like you would have to put a post-it and say, come to a meeting like this on August the 23rd of 2025 or wherever it was, and we're going to discuss what we're going to do about building this ginormous parking lot in front of these two of the newest houses in the neighborhood, okay? Right after they've been built. And I wouldn't mind it just in front of my house, actually. But if it was done properly. But isn't it regular city functions that you just don't just go do something without it being posted? And that's a question that scares me on LaPorte. I don't want all of a sudden y'all build a condo in front of my house or something.
All right, so I'm gonna answer that in a couple ways. So, I'm assuming the park was constructed by the city, so it's a public facility. It was constructed by the city. So we have a public works team or capital improvements team that for all of our public works type projects, sidewalks, streets, alleys, drains, for those are parking lots. We don't do many parking lots, but
Lots of parking.
but we certainly don't do that. That's not dust free, so we would never do that. But anyway, we would do our best to make sure that we engage the community, to make sure they know two things: what's going on, and secondly, how it's going to inconvenience them. Because unfortunately, many of the
I might not have built the house if I knew there was gonna be a parking lot put in front of it right after I finished the construction, If somebody had notified me, what I mean?
Right, and so to Courtney's point too, we require dustless. So if there was a parking lot, it would be asphalt or concrete, so that we have different standards. And I think that goes back to a simple cost for the Shore Acres. It was cheaper to do it that way.
It's pretty much what upset me about Shore Acres more than anything. I'm 60-40 on this because, there are some things that are good, some things that are bad. We definitely are gonna get less police presence. We possibly might be forgotten at the end of the road down there.
Well,
But, with them all of a sudden putting a parking lot in my yard, it just has kind of been upsetting. And I will say that the police, when they did come to our house in an event recently at night, the Port police came, the ambulance there, everybody was there. They were very, very good. You got great officers, by the way. I have to commend you on that. They got some pretty good officers in Shore Acres, but these guys went out of their way. So that was a selling point for us on Consolidation. The parking lot and the officers. What does scare us a little bit is what's left over facilities or what's gonna happen. Can we just tear them down and build houses, or we do something else? I mean, there's gonna be some discussion, I hope,
yes.
ahead of time on that, because I sure don't think we want the Chantilly room number 2 there.
I don't know, pretty good package.
I know, I thought about it.
Yeah. So
I know that Mary wants the Chantilly room there. She's gonna be the mayor of the Chantilly room.
we have an app you can sign up for that will alert you to meetings.
Okay.
Give you those times as well. We also post everything on the city
Wouldn't there be a little
website.
sign put out, we plan to do this?
That, I'll let Courtney address that, but that depends on the type of work, correct? Correct. Yeah, and then just one other point, you're worried about being forgotten at the end of the road. Remember, we have 2 other neighborhoods further past y'all. So we've been, so, you know, supplying them with all the needs they need. They're figured into our response time as well. So Shore Acres will not see any disappointment.
Okay, thank you very much.
So just to follow up on the signage issue, for, if it's a public works project, it's something that we're doing on our, presumably our land, there's not necessarily a sign that typically goes up, but we will paint door hangers, we'll make sure the community knows what's going on. If it is a separate project, like a private project, which is pretty unlikely. But if there's something that relates to zoning, there's always a notice requirement for a 300-foot radius. That's when a sign gets posted. And actually we send mailings to the affected property owners. So, yeah, so the goal is to make sure anybody affected by those. Yeah, the signs are pretty noticeable now.
I would expect that.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth. I am a citizen of Shore Acres. I am leaning more towards, but I do have a question in terms of voting and looking through this. I know there's no minimum number, but with the size of Shore Acres in comparison to the size of LaPorte, is there kind of a ratio, or how is that considered, like for consolidation or not? I guess I don't know how to properly.
Yeah. You are in her lane. She is so glad that you asked this question.
So, very good. No, there is no number, there's no magic number. So for example, if 3 people went in Shore Acres to vote and 3 people went in LaPorte to vote and 2 of those each voted for it, that's enough.
Okay.
There's nothing, no percentage or ratio or anything like that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
You can stand in line if you want.
David Ray and Shore Acres. So it's been a while since we've had a full staff of officers, so I'm not sure what some people are thinking. And I'm sure nobody's just gonna go sit at their house. And I don't know about the 6 times around by the pier. We did have something go sit down there with golf cart people on top. But I don't know when the last time it's been checked 6 times.
James Kerr. All right, I'm gonna take a little pressure off the police. All right, I may put some on you, someone. Then vehicle, that citizens on patrol vehicle, it's available.
It is available. It is available.
It is available.
It is available. Our Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, the graduates of that are eligible to participate in Citizens on Patrol. And so, yes, that is a vehicle that we do use. It's staffed by a minimum of 2. They can't go out solo. They have to have at least 2 people, and they do streetlight checks, those types of things, or just community needs that maybe aren't, yeah, so yes, they do help out quite a bit, so yes.
Okay, so that's what, to take a little relief off of that. We people that staff this vehicle, I drive by that vehicle quite often, it's sitting there. Of course, most of the time it's during the daylight. At night time and evenings. Take a ride. Make yourself presence. I guarantee people shaking in that city this time.
So it's a regular place car, don't
It certainly looks.
It
If he pulled up behind me, I'd be going.
doesn't have lights and silent on it just because citizens aren't by law, they can't drive those particular types of vehicles with lights and stuff. Those are equipped with the particular lights and silence that we use, but it does carry a paint scheme that looks very similar to a.
Paint scheme is.
Correct.
Is
Yes.
present.
Yeah.
Very good. Anyway, I'd like to see more cities. Pros and cons.
Thank you.
Barry Beasley report. That is a really good question, and that's something else that the people that are now at Shore Acres can do when they're part of the port, is become, the Citizen Police Academy, join that, go through the classes, then you can drive the car through your neighborhoods, there's other areas to help protect the city. So that's another thing you can do, right? They will be helpful, so be part of it.
Mayor's gonna throw me a bone. So if you become part of Laporte, we also want to share with you that we do have a number of ways for citizens to be involved. We have several boards and commissions, committees that citizens can apply to be appointed to by the city council and perform different services. Right now, our Keep Laporte Beautiful Committee is extremely active throughout the community and meeting fairly often. But there are a number of different ways that citizens could contribute. We also have, through our Parks Department, annually the City U program, which is about 12 or 13 weeks where citizens go one night a week for about 2 or 3 hours, and they go to a different department or set of departments. And many times they're actually in those departments' offices. They talk to the staff about what they do, see a presentation, have dinner. It's a really great way to meet some more people in the community, but also to find out what happens in 40 hours every week in that office or in that department. So we have citizens who graduate from that every year. We offered a very short abbreviated version of that last fall in Spanish called Mi Ciudad. And so that was an opportunity to bring it to the portion of our community that is not English speaking in the home. Had a really nice response to that. We, for the last 2 years in our office, the city secretary's office, have offered a citizens election academy to help citizens understand the entire process of how elections work, and have really enjoyed visiting with people about that. The chief will tell you that the police department has Citizens Police Academy and a shockingly active alumni group. They are amazing. And so I think you even have like Citizens Police Academy Part 2, and then like Alumni Part 14. I mean, they just go and go and go, and they work on things like Blue Santa, bringing toys to kids, being out in the community, and also just being very active and visible. We've talked about some visibility issues, which have been really great. The fire department, I believe, also does a Citizens Academy. Are you aware? Okay, they might. Our EMS department is very active in terms of helping people with car seats. They do classes for that. They do immunizations, safety courses. I do know that the fire department every year is in all of the schools for K through 6 on a theme each year to help them understand what happens and how they can best help their families, or if something happens in an environment that they're in, which is great for small children to understand. Johnny Morales is our emergency operations coordinator in the back there, and he is phenomenal. His department does really funny things on social media, but also participates in an incredible number of events throughout the community. They teach a course every year that's called. Oh, CERT. You want to talk about CERT? So CERT is the Community Emergency Rescue Team, response team, and it is a response team made up of citizens. Just correct me when I just start making stuff up. But CERT is available all across the state, all across the country. And it is a way for, again, like we talk about children knowing what to do, it's a way for citizens to know what to do, so that they know how to best be prepared. They can help others who live around them. And then when something happens, you have this cadre of individuals who know what to do and how things work. If you have to activate an emergency evacuation process, if you have to set up a shelter, if you need citizens to come out and help clear things or report things, these individuals know what the weather looks like, and they know how the hierarchy works, and they know who to call for what, which is really wonderful. So that's a great thing that they do. Also, Johnny's department works with all of the industrial partners in the community for the LEPC, which is the Local Emergency Planning Committee, another thing that is nationwide and is a way for citizens to be involved in their communities that have industrial partners. So there is, and it came unfortunately out of very tragic incidents with industrial partners around the world. But the opportunity is for citizens to know what's created in their community, to meet the people who are operating it, and also to give their feedback, so that It's a true partnership, so the community is protected and the community understands what's going on. It's not this faceless, multinational thing or something. Okay, so what have I missed? Okay, there is more, I'm sure, and of course, our Parks Department is very, very active. But we have the Alert LP app, and if you just go to alertlp.com, you can sign up for that. And then the new one is Ready LP. So please make sure you have both of those on your phone and receive those alerts. And people who come to visit you come through the community as well, encourage them to do it.
Hi, I'm Cliff Wilson and I live in Lomax. I see we should just be celebrating our 56th or 46th year of being part of the Porte. So I'm grateful that I wasn't living there in 1980, but I am grateful that we consolidated and I do appreciate all the services in La Porte. And I think we should do this too, just for the record. I think it's an enabling thing to do. I think it's Shore Acres has been part of La Porte all my life. So I think it would be a good thing. And forgive me if I missed this, I came a little bit late, but what happens if we don't consolidate with Shore Acres? And I've heard various things about Harris County taking over, or, I see that they're saying that basically they're responsible for their governance, but.
So nothing happens immediately. We did talk about it just briefly in the beginning. I'm sorry you weren't here and I'm sorry you have to hear this again.
I went to Jenny Reed.
Took the community tour. So basically, after the election, if either community does not vote for consolidation, then the item cannot appear on a ballot again for 2 years, but nothing immediately happens to any city. Shore Acres continues to operate as it is now. La Porte continues to operate. So there's nothing automatic. Nothing else is tied to it.
So the rumor or the talk about the county taking over is.
So anything like that, there's nothing that comes off the table by means of this election, but there's also nothing else tied to this election's outcome that happens right away. So, that might be a possibility down the road, but it has nothing to do with the direct outcome on May 2nd.
Okay, 2 more years. Okay, good. All right, well, thank you very much, and thanks for holding me. Sure. Good.
Hello, I live in Shore Acres. I have a couple of questions. So, my first question is for polling. How do calls for service compare to proactive police patrol? Can you talk a little bit about that, like what the differences are there and as far as response and all that stuff?
Sure. So if you have a call for service that's generated, that's usually as a result of a citizen or somebody calling in for a theft, a burglary, suspicious person, whatever, they're going to call into dispatch. That generates a call for service, and we'll send a police officer out in response to that. Aside from that, the officers are proactive. They're out patrolling the streets, looking maybe for traffic violators or something like that, or just anything else that they might see and generate on their own. We call those self-initiated activities. And so it's the officers being proactive, doing their normal patrol duties, and they might come across something that they self-generate. We just call that proactive police patrol.
Okay, thank you. And with that, when, let's say a potential something like a crime or something is happening, do patrol officers get pulled for that type of thing? If you need more people, or can you?
Yes, that's it. That's exactly how it works. If a crime occurs, they will dispatch a patrol officer to that location to take the initial report. They will take as much investigative time as they need to solve that crime. If they can, it goes beyond the scope of their normal duties. They'll refer to our criminal investigations divisions, who will then take it up and then follow through with it if it needs more investigation. And so they just take the basic information first. If they can do something to solve the crime immediately, they will, and they have the ability to do that.
Okay, thank you. My next question is for city manager. I had read a news article that you had interesting questions. One of the questions was, how will debt assumed be covered? Your answer was through property tax. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, so any, what is called bonded indebtedness, that, Texas cities have, is covered through your tax rate. So if you look at our tax bill has way more information you want, but our tax bill really has two components. One is what we call O&M, which is our operations and maintenance. And that's the portion of our tax rate that goes to cover police, it goes to cover fire, it goes to make sure, do what we have to do with streets and all of those public related things. Then there's another much smaller piece of our tax rate that goes towards servicing debt. And so what you do when you figure out your tax rate that council has to approve is you look at your total bonded indebtedness and you figure out what it takes to service that debt or to pay that debt for the next year. And then that becomes that part of your tax rate. So
Okay, so from my understanding, you guys assume that, potentially no tax increases, but that's not guaranteed, right?
yeah, so here's what I missed my disclaimer. So yeah, we are anticipating and no tax rate, but that is predicated on past practice of seeing some appreciation in values. That has been pretty consistent. I mean, if the future does what history's done, then we feel like our projections will be on a track that we're not anticipating a tax rate increase.
Okay, when was your last tax increase?
Our last tax rate increase, we don't know. I think we've had at least 30 years of no rate increase.
Okay.
City of LaPorte, I can't speak for Shore Acres.
Do you know by chance if there was a potential tax increase with the annex of, like after Lomax? Was there any tax increase at that time?
I have to do the research to find that out. I would, but no, ma'am, I cannot say it's no.
And, I do have another question. So I know that you guys get a better FEMA discount. One thing that I wanna know is, from my understanding, that's not an immediate benefit that we would get right away, because there's probably some paperwork and things that have to be done city-wise, or is it immediately?
So my expectation is it'd be fairly immediate. I mean, the property owners probably would not see it until they get their re-rate. So depending on when you do your re-rate is when you see your drop in flood insurance premiums. But the city, we only have one CRS rating that covers everybody. So that becomes the new CRS rating. And in large part because our standards become everybody's standards.
Got you. So there's no, to your knowledge, any type of FEMA like rules or regulations when something like this happens, where any assessments or anything like that have to be done?
No, and in fact, that is one of the questions, because we enjoy some of the lowest rates in the certainly in the state. So that was one of our questions. We have a consultant that helps us manage that program so that we can keep rates low for our citizens. And so we felt like we asked and answered that. And so I do not anticipate there being any additional effort other than compliance with our codes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mixon, I apologize. I gave you wrong information on that. I thought we had to do paperwork. So sorry about that.
Paul, I'm from LaPorte, Paul Watson. And for the chief, real quick, the numbers on here are a little deceiving. Can you clarify that? 29 officers, 1 K9 unit and 9 supervisors. That's not all on patrol. We're talking about 4 to 7, not 2 7, but on patrol, actual traffic patrol at one shift per se.
I'm not sure I'm following.
What is the 29 officers? Where are they at?
30 officers are assigned to the patrol division, if you will. So those are the uniform guys that you see that most people associate when they look and think police officers, they think a uniform, and that's the patrol division. So we have 30 officers that are assigned specifically to patrol. That's their function. And when I say patrol, I mean that they either come in, some of them will come in at 7 o'clock, some of them will come in at 3, and some of them come in at 11, spread throughout a 24-hour coverage. We take those 30 officers, divide them up into 3 different shifts. Those are just patrol officers. That's not including the supervisors. So now you're going to throw another 9 supervisors on top of that to cover each shift. Okay, and then we also have 8 DOT officers, 2 traffic officers.
Which are separate from.
These are separate, yeah, these are separate. So in essence, I think the number is 50 officers of the 82. We have 82 sworn officers. 50 of those officers are assigned to a patrol function in one way, shape, or form. The rest of them are spread out through support services staff, school resource officers, detectives, those.
And that was what I was getting with the school. I mean, I know those schools are dedicated officer. They're there, they stay there, and I didn't know what number came in or out. That's a separate unit.
That's a separate, completely separate unit.
But chief, we get them back during the summer, which goes out.
We do get them back, so we lose them about 70% of the time. They're dedicated to the schools, and they still belong to us or to the department, but they have a function that they perform at the particular schools that they're assigned to.
All right, good. I understand that better. Thank you. One thing I do want to say, I'm from LaPorte, so I've been dealing with permits and enforcement for a long time. And they have their own in-house engineer, which is very helpful. They're online with doing permits and such, which is helpful. I think it's still a work in progress. I think we're still getting through stuff, but that's very helpful and it's a bonus. One thing I was gonna answer, but with the additional workload with permits, et cetera, are we gonna get more personnel? We certainly have the building for it now.
I'll answer just the question only. So, as it relates to permitting, right now, we don't anticipate adding personnel. But we do, feel like there may be a need for, additional code enforcement resources. So we did talk to council at our budget retreat to, put that in front of them, and council was very supportive. So we would anticipate if consolidation happens, and maybe even if it doesn't, that we would add a code enforcement person to help with enforce our codes. That's grass, rubbish, weeds, parking in the grass, those sort of things that we try to police. Yeah, so but on top of that, it's code enforcement. Yeah, okay. We've recently launched, we've done 2 things to assist with code enforcement. We've launched we've taken a lead from the police chief on the citizens patrol, as we've taken folks who have an interest in making sure the community is nice and safe and preserved. And we give them some relevant code enforcement training, and then we empower them to go out after hours and look for violations. They take note of it, they bring it back to us, and then the next morning, our code enforcement personnel know that, hey, there's a problem at this location, go take care of it. And so we do that, and that's led to a number of violations being reported and addressed. What other thing? Yeah, Ryan's got it, he read my mind. There's one other thing.
Yeah, we've also. The microphone, that's right. I'm Ryan Look, I am the Director of Planning and Development, and code enforcement is under my purview. So one of the other things that we've added is, sorry, I just realized that. Sorry, one of the other things that we have added is night and weekend patrols. And so we do about 6 to 8 hours of patrols in the evenings or on weekends, again, to make sure we have more of a presence in the community. So it's been a very important thing that council is looking at. It's important thing for staff is community beautification, and we anticipate that will continue regardless of what happens with consolidation. So.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I do just want to say, if you are a volunteer for City of LaPorte or City of Shore Acres as an election worker, would you raise your hand? Oh, we just saw some Beasleys, yes. Or if your mom is. Yeah. All right, so that is not a volunteer position. You get paid, which is great, but we love people coming to work our elections. So if anybody's interested in that, please let us know.
I have a question on that.
But she's working for Shore Acres, so I don't know if I have the answer. Ed may have the answer.
Did you find out though if we'll get paid for our training? I know you said 2 hours, but that's way longer than 2 hours training.
Yes, I cannot answer that question.
Waiting process.
So are they.
I know.
Well, are there any other questions? We don't, we obviously want to be respectful of your time, but certainly don't want to leave any stone unturned, any question unasked or answered. So if anyone has any more burning questions there.
Oh, all right. Yeah, rotated. Well, y'all got the money, so it's okay.
Better than the council microphone.
They're what?
These are nicer than the council microphone.
Oh, really?
Like these.
Y'all need to put them in your pocket, take them home. I have a question, and this is, it's something that I noticed. I visited your budget workshop, retreat. And I kind of alluded to that in my statement or question. How long do you anticipate running a $2 million deficit in the solid waste department as a feature to help, I guess, generate goodwill with your citizens? Because you're going to bring in probably late 26, I think is what the last number I heard in that. If we come in, that was the recommended number one option, but that still leaves 1275 per house per month, which is like 1.9, almost 2 million bucks.
Council has deferred that question as far back as I can remember, and the current council and Mr. Gary's back here, and he can say yes or no. We deferred it again this year, and it's a benefit of living in LaPorte. We have not raised the water and sewer rate for how long, Corby?
Water 16 years ago. I'm sorry, water rates were probably increased 16 years ago.
And so that's just a benefit that we're able to subsidize for our citizens, just like our wave pool. It doesn't make any money. We subsidize that. We have a lot of amenities in town that we don't make money on, but that's what we subsidize for the residents.
As a park, I get that, because that would be hard to generate that. But to me, lighting $2 million on fire for trash, which is kind of what that is, usually those are a make even or break even situation in most municipalities. Couldn't that be spent somebody, well, I guess that's a policy question, but just, it's kind of a crazy
Yeah,
number.
it's just what council has historically done, and the current council agrees with it. It's again, it's a benefit for living in LaPorte.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't argue about that one.
From my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, if consolidation does happen, there is some redistricting that has to happen. And potentially some seats on council have to be fully reelected or something. Can you give me some more information on that?
I'd be happy to. Yeah, so what we think would happen is that after, if the election goes through and so consolidation happens, so there's about 1,500, 1,600 people who would come into District 5 on that side of the city. And then that district would be unbalanced in comparison to the other city council districts. So the city council would then make a decision, do they think that they need to redistrict, to look at a map that would rebalance that? And There's nothing that says they have to do that right then. There's nothing really to compel them before the next census, but they may choose to do that. If they do, that process takes however long it takes. It is a public process and there's going to be public input. And then at some point, they will choose a new map. Once they choose a new map, then the next, again, there's that term uniform election date, either May or November. The city has to have an election that has all 9 positions on the ballot. Now, the term links are set in the city charter. That's the citizens' constitution with the city, the agreement, the contract. And that sets how the terms run. So what we think is possible is that consolidation could happen in May. The council could begin to work on redistricting in the summer. We would miss the deadline that we need for November because it's going to be a crazy, huge, gigantic election and Harris County would have to do it. And then in May, all 9 positions would be on the ballot. The position for mayor and districts 2 and 3, I believe, would be up on their normal schedule. So on that ballot, that would be for a 3-year term. But for the positions that ran last year, they'd be on the ballot for a 1-year term. And then the ones for this year would be on the ballot for a 2-year term, right? So those things don't change. The charter doesn't get changed just because of consolidation or because of that redistricting process. And so that's what we anticipate happening.
Thank you.
Yes. Any other questions? I know we said at 8 o'clock, but we can close early if you want to. Councilman Garrett, did you want to say anything? Either way. Would you? No, I mean, I think everything. So some of you may know, Councilman Garrett, he is famous at the rec center. So if you have any questions about the city at all, that's where he takes all of his consultations.
All my questions at the rec center.
Every morning.
Every morning, 8:30 to 11:30. You can catch me at the rec center except Sundays. That's the Lord's day. So anyway. No, I don't see, me personally, and I've explained this to everybody, I don't see, everything that we do when it comes to things like this is that's got its pros and cons. It's gonna happen. But in this case, you sit there and you sit there, you weigh the pros versus the cons, and it's like I tell everybody, I mean, in my opinion, I mean, the pros in reference to Shore Acres being consolidated, the pros are just much more than the cons. That's just my opinion as a councilman. I wanted to make a statement because I know that being former law enforcement, the big thing with a lot of people is our law enforcement protection. We got to remember one thing, and I want to allude to something that the chief said as far as staffing, when he said he's got those DOT officers. Those DOT officers are out on the streets just like the patrol officers are, and they have the same radios that his patrol officers are. So you can bet that if anything goes down, based on my experience, they're gonna pull off the truck and go handle their business. Because that's basically what we do. We're not gonna leave anybody. We're gonna take care of our citizens first. That's what it's always done. So I just wanted to make sure that we were aware of that we do have additional patrol out there. It's just in a separate division. It's still out on the street. It's still out there patrolling. It's still out there running the streets. It's just a separate division. But they still have the same radios. They hear the same communications that the patrol officers hear. And if there's a call for service, and 9 times out of 10, if that DOT officer is close, he's probably going to respond to it because that's just the way it works. That would be. Anyway, that's all.
Thank you, Councilman Garrett. Appreciate that. Any other questions? All right, if we don't have any other questions, we'll call it an end. Thank y'all very much for coming out. Appreciate it. Thank you.